Just in time for Thanksgiving, Disney has come out with Wreck-It Ralph 2. And now that Thanksgiving is way over and the movie's been out several days, I finally got around to seeing it, and here's what I have to say about it, I guess. I didn't see the first Wreck-It Ralph in theaters. I saw it on DVD, but I really liked it. It was surprisingly good from... I don't know. I don't think I had any real expectations going into it. I'm trying to think... I think that was about the point where Disney Animated Studios started making actually good movies. And they'd been going through a streak of making not so good ones. I think Tangled came out before Wreck-It Ralph. Let me just look at that Wikipedia article. Yeah, it was pretty much Tangled, and then Winnie the Pooh came out, and then Wreck-It Ralph. So they'd pretty much been on a sort of a... This was the beginning of the upswing for Disney Animated Studios, because before that you had, Princess and the Frog, and then Bolt, and then some other things. But yeah, this was the sort of the resurgence of Disney Animated Studios, at least in my eyes. And because Prince of the Frogs was okay. It was nice to see a traditionally animated film. It just... I don't think it made that big of an impact on anyone, really. And I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, I liked the first Wreck-It Ralph movie quite a bit. I wouldn't say I was extremely excited for this movie. I was interested in seeing what it had to be. And if you couldn't tell from this video, this is sort of just my reaction to the movie. I just saw it yesterday, so I might get into spoilers. I might not. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not going to flash a big spoiler warning sign, because I why are you watching this video if you haven't seen it? If you care about spoilers, don't watch this video, obviously. That's all I'm going to say. So, I didn't go into this movie with a lot of expectations, but I have to say I was kind of disappointed. It was okay-ish. Definitely not as good as the first one. And I felt like watching it, it just made me want to watch the original more than it did make me want to continue watching the movie I was watching. There's moments where I really felt like, man, I really want to, watch the first movie and not this. And it had a lot of good elements at play, and I felt like, I don't know, it's just a lot of different things that weren't necessarily bad, but they weren't coming together very well. And I feel like this goes back to why they made the movie in the first place, because it really feels like their reasoning behind making this movie isn't really that they had a good story that they wanted to tell. It had to do with, they came up with a cool premise, and that's the title, Ralph Breaks the Internet, right? We're going to take this Ralph, the video game character, and this whole world that we built up with, video game characters being, having their own lives, and then we're going to send him to the internet, which was a cool premise to start off with. And then it doesn't really do anything with it. Or I should say, it does lots of things with it. It just, none of it matters, really, to the story. Because it kind of all feels tacked together onto that basic premise. And it kind of feels like they didn't have a story to begin with. It feels like Ralph goes to the internet, and we gotta have a reason why he goes to the internet. What if someone breaks Candy Racing, whatever, and then they have to go to the internet to find the replacement part. Okay, that's your reason why they get to the internet. But then you kind of even feel it in the film when they kind of wrapped up that story like halfway through. They kind of got to, it feels like in the writing process they went, okay, that's how they get to the internet, but what's the conflict? And then they kind of come up with this thing, okay, and it's kind of cool in some ways, there's no real antagonist to the film. Like the first one had the other candy guy who was revealed to be the villain. This movie doesn't really have a central antagonist like that. It kind of becomes Ralph's insecurities are the antagonists at the end, which by itself is kind of cool. And even in the way they did it was an interesting idea. By that point, I just didn't care the way I think I really should have cared. And I think that's because that story didn't feel like the culmination of everything that's been happening in the film. It just felt like it was tacked on to pad out the film, because the storyline of them getting enough money to get the part to fix the game, which was what started the movie to begin with, had already been resolved. It's like resolved halfway through. He gets the money and then he gets it at eBay. That should be, in a lot of ways, that should be the end of the story. And in some ways, that it makes it feel very episodic. I don't know why I pronounce it that way. It makes it feel episodic. And it feels like this is not so much a sequel movie, but like someone made a sequel show and then they took like several episodes, or like like the arc of like the first, half season or whatever, and then they compressed it and put it into a movie. That's kind of what this movie feels like to me. And oh man, it just isn't that good. It's not terrible. It has a lot of funny parts, and I'm just realizing they did not have the thing in the previews with the bunny and the cat, whatever, with the waffles. That was really funny. Or pancakes. Now I'm forgetting what was even in the previews. That wasn't in the movie at all, was it? Oh well. It seems kind of weird, because that was that's not even a small part of the preview that wasn't included. That's like something that was really big in the preview, that was a big part of it, and it's not in the movie at all. I mean, at a certain point, I guess you don't need it because we already saw it, and that was probably the whole joke. I mean, even having the princess thing felt a little redundant, even though it does become somewhat part of the plot. But we did see most of that. I mean, there was a little bit more to it than what had been shown in the trailer, but for the most part, we had seen pretty much everything that had been in that. In general, it felt a little disappointing. Well, pretty disappointing to me. And like I was saying, it's not like the parts are bad. It's just that the parts don't feel like they really go together in a cohesive picture. It just looked like, sort of the same two characters from the first one that they focused on. And that's one of the things I felt like I needed something different, because if you strip away the internet part of it and just focus, okay, what is the story that's being told? It's about Ralph and the girl, I forget her name. So the story is Ralph wants to hold on to their friendship, and she wants to branch out and do something new because she's getting bored of life, right? That's not what the plot is about, but that's what the movie's about. The plot, at least for the first half of the movie, is about getting the steering wheel to fix the game. And to get the steering wheel, they have to go to eBay. And to pay for the steering wheel, which they don't actually have any money because they're video game characters, then they have to do this other thing. And then, because that doesn't, well, they have to get the car to pay for the steering wheel, which they already won, but they don't have the money to pay for so that they can fix the game. And then that doesn't, they don't get the car, so they can't do that. And then then they decide to make viral videos on YouTube. I guess they couldn't get YouTube to sign off on that, or maybe it's because it's such an integral part of the plot that maybe that's why. Anyway, Ralph makes a lot of viral videos, and then eventually he gets the money to buy the purchase from eBay, which resolves the plot. And we're about halfway through, and so then you have the other thing with Ralph and I cannot remember her name, Vanellope, and that just doesn't work. That is like. It's like the plot is already resolved, and then because we somewhat introduced this thread of Vanellope wanting to, leave her video game and do something else with her life, then we gotta resolve that. And another thing about this movie that kind of rubs me the wrong way is if you think about it, Ralph is causes all the problems in this movie, and he's the one who overzealously goes to create a new track in her game, and that ends up in the game being broken when the kid yanks too hard on the steering wheel and it breaks it off. If Ralph hadn't done that, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, I guess in the movie it's presented as a sort of, well, he's not perfect, but he didn't mean to do that, so it's not he's obviously not the antagonist for it. But he's the one who creates the problem as well. And he tries to fix it. But then even later on, he's the one who introduces the virus. I don't know, it's just... And, okay, so... I've only seen the first movie once, so I can't really talk super accurately about what I remember of it. But from what I remember, the first movie starts off with Ralph, it's his character, and then he takes an action that he wants to leave, the video game, and then you have, eventually later, you have the video game shutting down. And then this movie takes the same problem at the core of what they're trying to resolve, at least for the first half of the movie, and that's her video game was shut down, and now they need to do something to fix it. That's the same thing. We already went through this. At the ending of Wreck-It Ralph 1, he's trying to prevent her video game from being shut down because I don't remember all of it, but because she was a glitch and then everything. And so it kind of feels the same. It just feels like Wreck-It Ralph, but then they slap the internet on it, and then they just have a lot of references to internet stuff. And, apps, and, I mean, it does it better than the Emoji Movie, for sure, but at the same time, it's still not that good. It's still not rooted in the characters, and it just feels like at the core of what the characters you have is not necessarily bad in itself. You have this idea of, like I said, Vanellope wanting to grow more and Ralph wanting to control the friendship because he feels like that's all he has, right? So that's not bad. That's good. That's interesting. It doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. For one thing, it feels like it's slightly introduced in the beginning, then kind of abandoned, and then brought back halfway through to become the main focus of the movie. So that's why I feel like it's episodic. It feels like you have one episode about Wreck-It Ralph where he, with the eBay thing, and that's the quest for eBay, and then you go to the next episode where it focuses more on the conflict between him and Vanellope. And that's not a movie. It doesn't feel like a cohesive movie in that way. I kind of thought for a moment that they were going to do something else, where it seemed like there should be some more further complication with the eBay thing, even though, like I said, with the whole connection thing, it's a little overcomplicated to begin with because it's just motivation for them to get on the internet in the first place, and then they use it as motivation for Vanellope to discover something about herself and try to grow her as a character. That's sort of the problem. The plot doesn't come from the characters. It's just kind of, it feels like it's all backtread. Like they're like, okay, but why? How do we get to the point we want to get? We know where we want to get. We want to get Ralph to the internet, but how do we get him there? Well, we gotta come up with this backstory. And, we want Vanellope to grow as a character, and then our idea for the ending of the film is that she leaves her video game and, goes to this new extreme racing game, right? Well, how do we get her there? How do we get her to see the extreme racing thing? Well, they got to go there to get the thing. And then it even feels like, but we've got to cram the Disney princesses in there somehow. Well, why are they there? they have to motivate her to look into herself so that she can, sing a song and be a princess, and then discovers that what she really wants is to go to this new video game. And it's just so convoluted, and that's part of what I feel like doesn't make it as enjoyable as the first movie. And as a whole, it's I just found myself sitting in the theater waiting for it to be over. Like that's my biggest thing about this movie. It has a lot of enjoyable parts. None of it feels like it fits together in a big picture that I really enjoy, because they don't fit together. And yeah, I guess without anyone else here to say anything, I guess that's all I have to say about that. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Ralph Breaks the Internet, or Wreck-It Ralph 2. If you have anything to chime in on that, or you disagree with me and you want to yell at me for a bit, feel free to chime in below in the comments. Also, YouTube, so the normal YouTube thing of like and subscribe if you like what I'm saying, or even if you don't like what I'm saying. Also, if you have any other ideas or things you want to see me talk about, if you care about that at all, you feel free to comment on that, because I'm always looking for new things to make videos on, or at least try to make videos on. And I might not respond. I'm not very good at responding to comments and stuff, but I do eventually get to it. I haven't been very in the habit because I don't get a lot of comments. And also, I don't really get a notification. Sometimes my Yahoo Mail tells me about it. Sometimes it doesn't. It likes to be a little fickle like that. But I will eventually look at your comment. It's just, at this point in the channel's history, there's not enough of a community to have like a back and forth yet. So that's okay, but we'll see what happens in the future. Anyway, I think the next video I know I'll make, I need to try to make more videos like once per week, but right now I've pretty much been just doing the Let's Talk videos where I, give you my reaction to a movie. I've been thinking of other videos I can make, but I don't know if you can tell from, these videos, I don't have a lot of editing skills or good software or good lighting or a lot of stuff I can't do. So this is right now I can do this. The give you my reaction to a movie. And we'll go from there. I'll see. The next movie I know I'll talk about is Spider-Man. I can't think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which comes out in December. So that's still a few weeks away. And then Aquaman comes out, and then I don't know if there's anything else. Let's see. But yeah, the next one I know I'll talk about will be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And then I guess I'll see you in the next video.